Hello, my fellows and fellas, and welcome to Alfred After Class, where we talk about topics too important for a traditional AP Alfred lecture. And today, well, let's just say the brands are at it again. But at this point, that is an incessant facet of modern life. So what exactly are the brands up to?
The kind of deals that make you boogie.
All hail Shadow, heroes rise again, obliterating everything that's not your friend.
Oh, that's what we're doing now, huh? Animated characters. Look, we are all intellectuals here. I don't think I need to tell you that this ad, or the Kroger ad, or the plenty of other advertisements with animated characters are bad. But what I do want to explore is, why are they bad? And why is this happening? And no, it's not just because LMAO cringe or some baby-brained idea like that. If you're in my class, you've got to stretch your brain to the hecking edge of the solar system, where it can then be burned by the wall of fire and the gods can directly implant their wisdom into your now medium rare brain, cooked the way it was always meant to be. Before we get started though, I must say that I disavow the brands. That's right, I said it. I hate brands, I hate commercials, I hate corporations, I hate America, and I hate myself. That's why they call me the anti-influencer. And as the anti-influencer I am, I will continue to be broke and speak to nobody. But I'll be able to feel self-righteous about it at the end of the day, and that's all that matters. Right, fellow mega-brained intellectuals? So when I go on this video talking about GrubHub and Kroger, please do not let those names get branded into your minds. I know that's exactly what they wanted. GrubHub is even starting to play into the memes. The more we think we're fighting them, the stronger they grow. So don't you dare leave this video with a hunger for GrubHub or Kroger. GrubHub is killing restaurants and sucking the life out of their employees and treating them like trash while they do it. And Kroger is also pretty trashy to its employees and pays them next to nothing while forcing them to work forever. I should know. I used to work there. The accounting team literally tried to rig the system to take money away from us. Like they would purposely not count some of the hours you worked, and if you dare wanted to be paid for all of the time you worked, you had to fight incessantly to prove that that was your money. You had to fight to get the money you rightfully earned. Uh-oh, I hope I didn't say too much. The Kroger Mafia might be out to kill me. Now finished with my fruitless attempts at undermining the ever-growing corporate domination machine, let's look at this guy. No one image has struck such rage into middle-class America since
Pika Pika!
Personally, as a professional media connoisseur, when I first saw this frame, I thought it was a joke. The way the spotlight washes out all the color. I thought this was like one of those stupid attempts at illegally uploading a movie to YouTube, where the person will just put a light filter over it. Do those even exist now? Or has the algorithm evolved so much that even the thought of uploading a film to YouTube will result in the Google bots busting down your door? But anyway, yeah, I was scared right off the bat. And as I witnessed these animated contortionists bend their Wall-E style boneless bodies into whatever form the consumption devil demands, the fear within my soul only continued to rise. Still though, I was certain there was more to my fear than just a surface level terror. I incessantly feel surface level terror, but this was something deeper. After seeing the Kroger ad though, it all started to click. But first, a quick look at the Kroger ad. I remember when I first saw these things rolled out at Kroger stores. I hated them from the moment I saw them. As far as I'm concerned, these Playmobil reject-looking heckers can jump right back into the chasms of Hades from whence they arose. In order to be more politically correct for these things, though, I must refer to them by the real name for their species, the Kroji. No, I am not making that up. These things are really called Kroji, as in Kroger Kroger emoji. And in case you were wondering, yes, you can turn yourself into a sinner, but you do have to be an employee. And I've been booted out of the system by this point. So unfortunately, I cannot take you all on a tour of these secret laboratories where mad scientists are taking the DNA of humans and implanting it into plastic Playmobil creatures. From what I hear, there is a lot of screaming and satanic rituals involved. So it really is a shame we can't go there because that sounds like a wonderful Sunday afternoon to me. Much like the GrubHub ad, this ad also features animated characters being forced by their corporate puppet masters to dance at the seemingly wonderful deals being dealt their way, forced to express joy at being punished slightly less by their overlords today. But you know all of this. So what makes these ads bad? And why are corporations so willing to jump into making these kinds of ads? Well, the answer to both is actually almost the same. But let's start with why these ads are bad. And the best way I know how to do this is to start with a little bit of character design study. Don't worry, I'll try to make it fun. We'll start with a good example and compare it to the GrubHub and Kroger characters to deduce what exactly makes these characters and their designs so atrocious. And as every person with only a cursory knowledge of animation does, I will present Carl from Up as an example of superb character design. Even if you haven't seen the movie Up, there is so much you can deduce about who this man is just by looking at him. And that is important because, like it or not, it is a biological fact that all of us make snap judgments about people based on how they look. It sucks, but it is our brains, so I'm not surprised it has yet another thing wrong with it. Looking at Carl, there are some very obvious features our brains will pick out, like the fact that his head is shaped like a square, something which literally tells us that this dude is a square. He's rough around the edges and stuck in his ways. Looking a bit closer at his eyes, you can see the heavy bags below his eyes and the strong squint covering his eyes. This not only shows his exhaustion, it also portrays how he is closed off from the world. In a sense, he is covering his eyes, a part of the body which can convey a lot of emotions, and is also the part of the face you will look into in order to engage in serious or intimate moments. He is closing that part of his body off. You've also got his overall slouch, which continues to convey closed off body language, further showing the audience that this is a man who is cold and distant and refuses to open up to the world. Yet, at the same time, there is a bit of hope through the big glasses sitting on his face, the very same overly large glasses he wore as a child. While he is squared out since his childhood days, he still wears glasses that almost seem too big for him, as if there is still a bit of that childhood innocence in him, something deep within him that still dreams. Not only does this character design work to tell us who Carl is as a character, but it works in service of the plot when we were presented with Carl's foil, Russell, who is an extremely round character. In fact, he is so round he practically has no edges on him at all. And when looking at Russell's eyes, they are completely wide open. The bright, hopeful, and naive eyes of a child who greets each day in discovery with excitement. The eyes of a child who will tell you exactly what he feels, further serving as a foil to Carl. Now, when we jump to the end of the film, after the two have spent more time together, you'll see Carl's eyes much wider open, as he has learned from this child that it's okay to open up, that even though he has lost the most important person in his life, there are still wonders to see and experiences worth having in this world. Russell has quite literally opened up Carl's eyes. All of this just from looking at the character, and I'm still just scratching the surface of all the things you can deduce from this character design. I didn't even touch on the costume design with the darker, faded colors compared to Russell's bright colors, and okay, I need to stop before this whole video just becomes about the movie Up. But you see my point, right? You can learn a ton about a well-designed animated character just by looking at them. Now, let's look at the GrubHub man. Are you seeing the problem now? None of these characters have anything. Their designs don't say anything. Essentially, the only thing these designs say about these characters characters is their age, gender identity, and race, demographic data. You'll notice that when I talked about Carl from Up, very little of what I described had to do with his gender, race, or age. The attitude and personality of Carl that we described is psychographic data. When examining the GrubHub characters, there is practically no psychographic data we can observe, and that frustrates our brains. Our brains want to make assumptions. I go into more detail about this in my lecture on why we develop emotional connections with characters, but to sum it up, our brains want to make assumptions because that's what the real world trains us to do. You make assumptions about people based on what they look like, how they're dressed, if they look like they've showered in the past decade, stuff like that. Looking at these characters though, they look like cookie cutter human molds with no distinguishing traits. The only aspects of their designs that seem to be emphasized are their stomachs and their mouths, which makes sense considering this is a food ad. But guess what? It looks gross because people don't look like that. And the only thing this ad is telling me is that these people like to eat, which is where we start to get more so into why corporations make these kinds of ads in the first place. Remember what I said about how these characters just seemed like they were only designed with demographic data rather than psychographic data? Well, this is essentially how corporations view the world. I've been in the belly of the marketing beast before, and the way businesses view humanity is kind of gross. While the use of psychographic data is on the rise thanks to social media, it's still not entirely accurate. One time I was curious what kind of person Twitter thought I was, so I requested my Twitter data, and it told me I was a 65-year-old divorced man. I was 15 and hadn't so much as held someone's hand. Clearly, these algorithms know so much about us. So brands frequently rely on old, reliable demographic data, where you get grouped together with everyone in your age group, race group, and gender group. And I don't know about you, but I do not identify with like 95% of people from my data group. Things like gender identity, race, and age do influence the experiences you have in this life, but that does not mean you are exactly like everyone else in your demographic group. In these GrubHub and Kroger ads though, that's all there is. There's nothing to distinguish about any of these people. There's the old lady one, the dad, the Karen, but this ad isn't saying anything about any of these people. In fact, the ad isn't saying anything at all. Not only in the character designs, but in the music choices and the actions the characters are taking. Absolutely nothing is being said because these brands are trying to cast as wide a net as possible with these kinds of ads.
People talking without speaking.
And the moment you say anything of substance, there is a guarantee you will upset someone. And so brands play it safe, which is ultimately what these ads are. Safe. The character designs are safe. And using animated characters promotes an extra level of safeness, as you don't have to worry about actors or celebrities doing anything that could tarnish the brand's image. The music is safe. The action is safe. In both of these ads, the characters only really dance, which is like one of the most inoffensive expressions of joy possible. The universes of these advertisements are sterilized corporate utopias where everyone loves the product, where everyone loves the brand, where dissent is non-existent, and everyone feels and acts the same, with only their demographics marking slight differences. And while this world may seem perfect to brands, to us it presents unease, because this isn't the world we want. This isn't the world we live in. Our world isn't safe. Our world isn't sterile. It's messy, it's rough, it's scary, it's depressing, but it's beautiful. We're more than who marketers say we are. There is so much more to our world than corporations want us to understand. And I know this may seem stupid, but the backlash to these commercials and the memes, they give me hope. Hope that we haven't given up yet. Hope that we are still questioning the dystopic fantasy corporations wish we could succumb to. These businesses, GrubHub, Kroger, and every other corporation, you owe them nothing. Keep questioning. Keep thinking. Support the people and causes doing things that give us the world we want, not the world brands want. And whatever you do, do not conform to the hypnotic hips of the GrubHub guy. Don't do it. I know his powerful thrust is compelling, but there is sin behind those hips. Damnation with his gyration. Thank you for staying after class with me. I'll see you in the next lecture.